Salaam everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to compare EMUI 9.1 with EMUI 10. Now, EMUI 10 is still technically in beta. It's not the final version, but I was finally able to get it on my P30 Pro, and I want to share with you guys some comparisons. Basically, what are the things that change, or what are the things that are going to change for us once we get EMUI 10.0 on our devices. This is TK. Let's check it out. Like and subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified whenever we put out new videos on the channel. What I have in front of us is two different devices, and we're not going through specifications. We're really pretty much focusing on the software. I have the P30 Pro on the right, and I have the Honor 20 Pro on the left. EMUI 10.0 beta sitting here on the right side, and then EMUI 9.1, technically branded as Magic UI 2.1, and I'll explain to you what I mean. But for the most part, the comparisons that we're doing essentially is what we currently have on the market with EMUI 9.1, and what are some of the new features that are coming down the pipe for EMUI 10. So the first thing we'll notice whenever we bring down the notification shade is that we now have the updated design. So you'll notice this is the existing design. It's more of a solid color background, even if you have dark mode. Basically, it's a solid color in the background, and now it's more of a transparent. And you can kind of see the background here as it shows right there. It blurs out the background, and you're able to interact with everything. We have the new animations that go in here and within the circular icons, which shows that little airplane. It's pretty similar to the we've had it here, except it just looks a little bit more focused on the animation and the things that we get directly from the UI. Going into the settings tab, for the most part, what we have essentially now is a slightly better grouping effect. And what I mean by that is when you go through here, you'll notice everything here is kind of a long list. On the right side, we now have them grouped, and essentially just more focusing on specific aspects of the actual system. So if you want to look at wireless and network connectivity, they're pretty much in the same order. It's just now that you have access to them there, so you can actually go in there and look at it. Other than that, we also have the ability of going into the display section. We now have the ability of turning on dark mode within the display section here. It is not present on the Honor 20 Pro since this is an IPS LCD panel. On any OLED device that is both either Huawei or Honor, they provide the dark mode option. It used to be under the battery section, but now it is present under the display section. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you guys is that one of the new updates that they did with EMUI 10.0, which unfortunately is not working 100% yet since this is a beta, is the ability of using dark mode to do more of a system-wide level dark mode. And what I mean by that essentially is that you notice right there, the Google button here did turn into dark, although the Google app did not. When you go into notification shade, it still has a see-through function, but now it's more darker. And again, it's intended to basically push and make any device or any application that has a dark mode option to turn on in that system. So once we have that more functional in the next beta, maybe we'll hopefully be able to show that to you guys on camera. But for the most part, any application that is designed by Huawei, so an example would be here. This is their messaging application. It does support it. The dialer automatically supports it, as well as the ability of going into the clock. You'll notice all of that stuff just stays basically, and everything looks amazingly nice. The colors are also very nice and very popping. Now, one of the other things that you'll notice that it is already present on EMUI 9.1, and that's basically the consistency of icons. You don't have basically circular icons and non-circular icons. So you'll notice right there, even though Chrome is technically not a square icon, it puts it in directly within a square icon, so you're able to basically see it there. Everything is consistent. You do have that basically instant, but everything is consistent as far as the design. And you also notice right there that the new app drawer, it's no longer basically something that you have to click a button for. You just basically swipe up and you directly access the app drawer, and then you can use the gesture to go back. You can add other applications in there, and you still have your Google Feed sitting on the left. Now, the one thing that you definitely will notice is when you go into the camera application, and that's a big redesign to what we've had from before. What we see here essentially is basically all the buttons, all the options that you get. We have the Master AI or the AI option right there. The camera button, or the front-facing and the back-facing camera button has been revamped. The icon color, the button here is a little bit different. Going into portrait, you get the name of the portrait. Here you don't. Night mode basically just takes you into the mode itself. And then night mode, of course, where we had the two auto and ISO and basically the shutter speed sitting on the left. Now they're more centered. The other thing also is when you take a picture, an existing way right now with night mode is you just click it and you basically wait for that little counter that's sitting right ever so slightly small sitting here, and you definitely get that nice little night shot. Now it's actually a little bit more prominent, and you have a really good way of seeing how long it's going to take you. So if I take a picture, it's sitting in front of you doing a countdown by second. So a little bit better and definitely very nice, a little bit more basically visually based. And I think that's the main focus here, is we're getting a little bit more visual animation, things that keep us basically more focused on what we're doing. And if we go into aperture mode here, we're able to see the ring. The ring has also been redesigned right there, and I'm able to basically scroll through, and it actually looks really nice. If we go back into photo, I want to share with you guys real quick here. In the photo application, where we now have the ability of using kind of a slider option where we didn't have that before. So that was something that we also didn't have there. So if I want to be able to go to wide, if I want to be able to jump into the one, and here, if I click that, you notice it's more of a button clicking. So you don't really have a way of sliding between. I mean, you can if you press and hold it, but it's more here. If you click it once, automatically comes up. If you click it once here, it does not. So again, some of the main aesthetical differences there. We still have the ability of going all the different options here, you know, macro, dual view, time-lapse, ARs, all of that good stuff. But those are some of the things that we want to share there. The one thing that did not transfer over from the last update on the P30 Pro, that's the ability of using night mode on front-facing camera. That was an update that was pushed to the P30 Pro before I got this, and now that we're on EMUI 10 beta, we don't have that yet. So I'm hoping that will come back in the next update. We're also supposed to have better brightness level here, the ability of basically going really, really nice and bright. So you can see definitely right there, the display can get really nice and bright, very easy to read indoors and outdoors, of course. And of course, you still have the ability of having auto brightness. Now, closing apps is really one of the really cool things that we have here. So as I mentioned to you guys, animation is a big part of what we do here. So keep in mind, just watch basically where my finger is. So if I'm swiping up and I'm going to the left, right? So if I swipe up and go to the left, the icon ever so slightly goes back here. So if I go back, it goes back there. If I go up, it just keeps going back there. If I open up Instagram and I do the exact same thing, I'll give it a second to load, and I'm going to swipe up. It goes away with my finger and it tracks where my finger is going, and then it just basically lets the icon drop to where it's supposed to be. Very nice, and just basically a nice little aesthetical difference that they add there. It just makes it ever so nice. And it will do this with any application that you have a background to see where it's going. So here, YouTube Studio, again, does the exact same thing. And if I go into Twitter, again, you could see go up and then it just drops from whenever my finger lifts off the display. Now, the other thing that they also talked about is that there's going to be more basically time-dependent always on display options. So if we go into always on display, we have the ability of turning it on. Unfortunately, it's not present right now, and I was hoping to be able to share that with you guys or show that to you guys on the device. But the current version that we get right now is on top of the fact basically that all the optimizations, the speed, the performance improvements, even though this is technically a beta, I'm having no problem running any application on it directly. And then we'll be able to basically turn on a functionality where it actually changes as the time of the day changes, so that you get more of a kind of like a time of day always on display, and it still provides you with all the notifications that you're looking for. So the main differences that we're noticing with EMUI 10.0 right now is basically a focus on aesthetics, a focus on animation, and a focus on smoothness in the process of how the device feels. The overall changes that we see here are minor, but I feel like they also touch on certain things that we all like to look at. It's basically how nice the display can be utilized. So it gets really bright. It has the ability of going into dark mode, where hopefully in the final version we'll be able to force all applications that support dark mode into that. When what I'm talking about is basically Google applications. You notice on the display it did change the icon for the Google search bar on my home screen, but it didn't change Google as far as the actual, the Google feed there. So those are things that are coming down the pipe. This is again the first beta that we got on our P30 Pro. What I'm really excited to see essentially is that we are starting to see EMUI 10.0 on devices. Hopefully official release for this will be probably next month. The first device that's supposed to get the EMUI 10.0 officially, full build and everything, will be the Mate 30 Pro, which from what I remember should be announced basically next week in Berlin. Or in Germany. I'm not sure it's in Berlin, but I know it's in Germany. That's going to be announced from Huawei. So hopefully we'll see what comes out basically with the brand new Mate 30 Pro. The Mate 20 Pro was definitely one of my favorite devices of last year. Even to this year, it has a solid camera in there. But overall, EMUI 10.0 should be coming to most devices, and I think what the initial intention essentially is, again, better aesthetics, better looks, better processing, faster UI, and of course, overall, just basically a revamp and smoother interface with your device. Like and subscribe as usual. Thank you very much for the support. Let me know what you guys think of the update between the EMUI 9.1 or 9.0 to EMUI 10, and are you looking forward to getting it on your device?